Hello there, I'm Leo Warder for Kit Guru. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you may recognise this NZXT H440 case, but that is not what we are reviewing today. What we're reviewing is what is inside the case, which is the NZXT HUE Plus lighting system. You know about lights to go inside cases. They either get those compact fluorescent tube type things, look like a bit of luminous string, or you get a strip of LEDs and they're a colour and you turn them on and that's about your lot. Sometimes they change colour. This is different. The original HUE, which is still on sale for £25, is a little box with a couple of control knobs. The gizmo you can see in the pictures on the Kit Guru webpage that's in here, it's sort of like an SSD really, with the USB connection coming out and a power connection coming out and a couple of channels of controller which go to strips of LED, which are these things here. The whole shooting match is controlled by NZXT's CAM software, which is that utility there, which also works for its temperature monitoring generally, so their Kraken liquid cooler, for example. And it's, I think it's based on HW monitor or CPUID, something like that. So it tells you what your system's doing in terms of temperatures and such like. So they've expanded it. They've got a tab on for Kraken, and now we have a tab for HUE Plus. Let me just start some music playing. And we can see, hopefully over there, yes, we have disco fever going on. And I'll just turn these lights off briefly so you can see hopefully slightly better. And then I'll put them back on. Now, that was one of the many modes. That's actually a beta mode that they put on there called, it's called audio. And the idea is it is like disco light, so it reacts to your music. Now, I've simply left it on the default. You can change it any color you want, doing whatever you want. That's all dead straightforward. I'm going to put a bunch of screen grabs on Kit Guru of the CAM software and the different HUE Plus modes. But the point is that here we go. So this is the sort of the main control panel for the lights. There are two channels, as I say, coming out of the thing. You get a number of cables. You get a cable that plugs into the box, and you get a bunch of extensions so you can run the lights around your case easily enough. And each of the strips of LED, they've got some adhesive backing, but they're actually also magnetic. So the two strips in the case here are actually just stuck in place with magnets in the steel casing, but you can, if you choose, use the adhesive. The strips themselves have a male-female connector at each end, so you can extend them like so. And each of the controllers, each strip is 10 LEDs. Each of the channels can control up to 4 strips. You get 4 strips in the box, so you can either use 4 strips on one channel, 4 strips on the other, or some combo thereof to split it between the 2 channels. Then each channel can do something different. The permutations are huge. Unfortunately, the price is also slightly huge. It's £48 including VAT. They will be releasing some additional like a kit to expand, because you'll appreciate in total the thing can control 8 strips of LED. You get 4 in the packet. They're going to be doing little expansion kits of 2 strips per kit, which is going to be something like £15–16. That's to follow. So then you'll have even more lights to play with. In principle, it's absolutely terrific. Let me just go to configuration of LEDs. Basically, we've got a whole bunch of modes. So if we go for fixed and we save changes, we should now have a fixed light. And then you've got all the usual things. So you've got breathing, fading, marquee, covering marquee I actually quite like. Let's go for that. And then that's basically one light chasing a different light, so it's like it's laying down one colour and then being followed on by a second colour. It's possibly pertinent to say at this time of year, nearing Christmas now, that in many respects the modes are similar to your Christmas tree lights. So you get about 20 odd presets. You pick the things. Obviously, it's completely configurable. It's RGB, so you can go and then you can choose which color does what and into what intensity and the timing and the speed and this and that. Completely configurable because it's done in software. And that is important. Now that's the presets. That's your smart stuff. Smart is good. What smart shows you is it's what your system is doing. So this is where HUE Plus links into CAM in a similar way to Kraken, and it will report what your system is doing in terms of temperature. So if we save that, this is the GPU, and if we start this running, now what that should do is now load the graphics card, which should start at dark blue and move up through violet. All being well, yes, the graphics is loading. Yes. Anyway, we'll leave that running. Either which way it works. The music, by the by, which I started with, that's in beta, and I noticed a couple of glitches with that. I'd play that, I'd go into a different mode, and I'd come back again, and it wouldn't want to kick into action. So that was slightly aggravating, but then it's a beta, so you can make allowances. How are we doing? I think that's changing colour. Now, because this is a GTX 980, the best you get out of it is, and the case is open, the best you get out of it is it goes to this sort of mode here, which is violet, which is around about the 50 something degrees Celsius. It doesn't go anywhere near the red. If we're being cruel, we'd suggest that red might be AMD's colour, but that's just being mean. The fact that actually none of the presets include green for NVIDIA is just one of those things. They're going through the blue, through violet, through red. So, photos on KitGuru showing you the box, which is just a plastic box. There's various cables. These are half the cables. There's strips of LEDs. They're there. How are we doing? Oh, yes, we are. We are now up to about here, I think, on the light. Setup is straightforward. It works well. It's slightly expensive. There are some annoyances about this system. Now, one of the things is I managed to break one of the pins on one of these cables. That one there. I don't know whether I bent the pin myself when I was unpacking everything, because it comes with a whole series of plastic caps to protect the pins. Either it arrived bent or I bent it and didn't realise. Anyway, I thought I'd just straighten it because it was just... and it snapped. Clearly quite brittle. My stupid fault, no doubt, but there we go. So it means that I'm reduced to using one channel of the controller, because I'd need both those cables to use two channels. Not the end of the world, but it's just one of those, it makes you wonder. Where the little box sits in a drive bay, it's intended to go in a 2.5-inch drive bay, it sits a few mil outboard where I'd like it to be. So the cables are up against the back panel, but that's kind of a combination of the bay and the unit and the mounts. Having said that, it's an NZXT case, they made the bay. So that's not perfect, it's not the end of the world. You're going to have to add a Molex cable just to power this, and that strikes me as slightly vexing. How are we doing with the... oh yes, we've gone to violet now, so that's nice, and let's just shut that down, and then we'll let you watch as it cools down. You could obviously use that when you're gaming, that'd be quite fun. You could also use it to alert you, clearly, if there's a problem. I would think you're far more likely to notice if a case is glowing red than if you get a slight beep. The other thing is USB connection. This has a USB 2 header to connect to the CAM software. The Kraken has a USB 2 header. This case has a USB 2 front panel and USB 3. So internally I've got a USB 3 header and a USB 2 header. So that's 3 USB 2 headers I require. One for the case, for these 2 ports, one for the Kraken cooler, and one for HUE Plus 3. The motherboard has 2 USB 2 headers. So I'm going to... I'm coming up short. Many motherboards these days, if you're into a Skylake territory, don't have USB 2, or they're going to be very thin on the ground. So this strikes me as a fundamental snag. The very least you need is some sort of adapter cable, but I don't think you can do it USB, because after all, your header has 2 rows of pins. Each header controls 2 ports. So no, not good. Perhaps they need to fork the cables to have a USB 3 connection on them. Either which way, that's 2 snags, both of which strike me as being a bit oldie-worldy, considering this is brand new shiny hardware. USB 2 and Molex 4 pin. The price, odd enough, £48 for this, I think it's good. What I like about it is it works, for one thing. You can expand it to more lights if you really want. That's good. The modes, they've put all the modes in you'd expect, and then they're stuck in these extras, so the intelligent smart stuff, so you can monitor temperatures visually. I like. The audio is fun, and it's not necessary, but it is home disco fever, and that's got to be a good thing. And the point is that because it's all in software, and it's the CAM software at that, clearly if you're using a Kraken cooler, then it just integrates beautifully. It's Any new ideas that come along, you can expect to bundle it all together. Now, I don't know what NZXT might do next with CAM. They've got the cooling, they've got your lights. If they can come up with some other device, then they can integrate them sort of sideways so two things work together. This is very exciting. So overall, this is not a perfect product, but it is a very good product, and it beats the backside out of your standard fixed internal LEDs. It is absolutely a cut above the normal. So if you're customizing your PC, if you're building yourself a new case, if you're a new system, if you're going for a custom loop, this should absolutely, particularly if you get USB 3 and blooming SATA power, but absolutely NZXT HUE Plus, big thumbs up. I like it a lot. This is Leo Waldock for Kit Guru.